The Mille Miglia was a continuous town-to-town race, a direct descendant of the great city-to-city races, which were the birth of motor racing. From Brescia in the north to Rome in the south and back again, the distance was conveniently 1,000 miles. The course changed little over the years, remaining essentially a big loop. In 1928, Alfa Romeo entered a pair of Vittorio Jano-designed, supercharged 6C 1500s, driven by Campari and Ramponi. Campari drove a fine race and won at an average speed of 80 km an hour. In the great days of Achille Vazzi and Tazio Nuvolari, the only driver to break the Italian domination was Rudolf Caracciola in a Mercedes-Benz. Local knowledge was vitally important. The numbers on the cars represented their starting time, with the first car heading off at 9 p.m. The slowest cars started first, so there was plenty of overtaking out on the road. Maserati and Alfa entered thinly disguised Grand Prix cars as the pace of the Mille Miglia increased. The Mille Miglia was the inspiration of four Italian enthusiasts, Count Emo Maggi, Franco Mazzotti, Giovanni Canastrini, and Renzo Castagneto. The Mille Miglia was revived after the Second World War in 1947. Ferrari came to the fore with drivers like the Marzotto brothers. The Scuderia won 8 of the final 10 races, helping establish their reputation as a builder of competitive sports cars. The Mille Miglia was a celebration of Italian motoring, with everything from small Fiat Topolinos to powerful Maseratis. 1953 was one of the great years for sports car racing. Britain's Jaguar, Healey and Aston Martin challenged the Italians. Lancia, Maserati, Alfa Romeo with the Disco Volante and Ferrari.
And off goes the Fiat Topolino. It's nearly 3:40. Time for Venezian to start in his Oscar. By tradition, Castagneto wears the bowler hat he wore to start the first Mille Miglia in 1927. 2 minutes behind is Sterling Moss in his Jaguar. The team manager of Mercedes, Neuber, is here just to watch. Beyond Aquila, they climb up to the Sella di Corna. Ravenna, and here is Giannino Mazzotto. The Ferrari has broken every record with an average speed of well over 100 miles an hour for the first 180 miles. Rossolini is going steadily, although Tom Cole is about to pass him. He's about 15 minutes behind the leaders. Miles on, Aquila, and the Oscars lead in the 1100 sports class. There's 20 minutes between Venezian's leading Oscar and the Fiat Armini of Brandy. And as Fangio pulls up to the Alfa pits to refuel, another Alfa arrives. Kling is fastest of all by 40 seconds. Alfa's are first and second at Rome. The Alfa Romeo Fangio leads. Kling is out and Fangio has taken his place. The fastest car still in the race has now nearly caught up with the Ferrari of Paolo Mazzotto, which left Brescia 19 minutes before the Alfa and is now less than 2 minutes ahead. Paolo Mazzotto is now up in third place with his Ferrari. The Alfa Romeo is here. Fangio using all his skill to make up for his lack of intimate knowledge of the roads. Fangio is trying hard, but he won't know if he's going fast enough to hold his 4-minute lead until he arrives at Siena Control. Beyond Florence is the Futa Pass over the Apennines, the last great obstacle before Bologna. Close behind the Lancia comes the Ferrari. The last chance for Giannino Mazzotto to use his knowledge of the mountains to gain those 2 vital minutes. Fangio also knows there's not a second to spare if the Alfa is to stay in first place. Bologna, and the Ferrari has broken the record for crossing the Futa, a record that has stood since Biondetti made it in 1938. And it's the Alfa. Fangio's had trouble with the steering and has now dropped 3 minutes behind the Ferrari. Here comes Giannino Mazzotto to win the 20th Mille.
The fastest ever Mille Miglia was won by Sterling Moss, partnered by Dennis Jenkinson, in the Mercedes 300 SLR. Jenkinson, a motoring journalist, was also a world champion sidecar passenger. They introduced the idea of pace notes, having reconnoitred the roads and made notes of the route on a long roll of paper. In the race, Jenks relayed these to Moss with hand signals, so that he was able to take blind corners at higher speeds than would otherwise have been the case. Starting at 7:22 a.m., they charged down the Adriatic coast. They led at Rome and defied conventional wisdom that said that those who led at Rome were never first home. They drove the 1,000 miles in just over 10 hours, an average speed of 100 miles per hour, or 160 kilometers per hour. It was a stupendous effort.
I think my best race certainly was the Mille Miglia. Going 1,000 miles on the Italian roads, which weren't closed. I mean, trucks were out there, medical vehicles, and all sorts of people moving around to get different viewpoints. And I got this guy, Dennis Jenkinson, my navigator, because there's no way was I going to learn 1,000 miles. And we made this incredible thing which we called a toilet roll. He read that, interpreted that into hand signals, which of course I could see out of the corner of my eye. And that's how it happened. I mean, he was like a guide dog, you know? I used to race 500cc Formula 3 cars then, and invariably with those with the motorbikes, you know, run conjunction. Therefore I saw him most weekends, you know, Chelsea, different places we go to. And Jinx was as a character as anybody who's met him will know. And he always had interesting and amusing things to say. And he was a person that I found a great affinity. We had a lot in common and enjoyed, I think, hopefully, each other's company. He understood the importance of controlling himself and not getting nervous. And he seemed to be his threshold of fear was way longer than mine, you know. And he would sit there and give me details he'd taken down correctly. And I mean, we had a couple of small mistakes, but really, when you consider the enormity of the problem, 1,000 miles going around here we were doing. I mean, the SLR, I just think we're doing over 180 miles an hour, which was damn fast. I mean, he was difficult, I'm difficult, and I think we accepted each other's shortcomings and got on with it, really. He's the sort of person that if you knew him, you either clicked and you really enjoyed his company, which I did, or you probably thought, God, he's a bit of a wanker. But he's always got something interesting and pithy to say. I took his signals as being gospel. If he says flat out, flat out. If he said back off, you know, or slow down a bit, or I had to interpret them. But my interpretation and his hand signals were fairly closely related. And you know, when he gave me like that, which was me a bit slower, I'd back off a bit and then put my foot down. So I was guided by him. I've often thought, I wonder what time I could have done without him. I mean, it would have been a lot slower.
The atmosphere which surrounds motor racing in Italy has to be experienced to be believed. And of Italian motor races, who can dispute the claim of the Mille Miglia to be the greatest of them all? By the time the first car leaves, all Italy is swept by its wildfire of excitement. For the outright victory, Maserati fielded the normal, fabulous assortment of Grand Prix machinery thinly disguised as sports cars. With an honest 400 brake horsepower at his command, Moss looked well placed to repeat his victory of 1955 and was firm favourite with the knowledgeable crowd assembled to see the scrutineer. The 301 entries included all the stars. This is the Oscar of that amazing man Cabianca. Vera crashed in practice, but with Moss and Hermann, Maserati still had Scarlatti with a normal 300S. Ferrari entered 5 works cars, all with different large-capacity engines, to be driven by Peter Collins, Piero Taruffi, Von Trips, Alphonse de Portago, who was standing in for an unwell Musso, and Olivier Gendebien. But the entry was not to be left entirely an Italian monopoly, thanks to the courage and initiative of all too few individuals. In an atmosphere that's near to nightmare, the Mille Miglia starts. Had this setting been designed to frighten the driver, it could scarcely be more effective. The time is approaching 12 minutes past 2 a.m. With headlights blazing in readiness for the plunge into total dark, Peter Harper and Jack Reese calmly leave the ramp. Sheila Van Dam and David Humphrey take the plunge. And the rest of their 1600cc special touring class follow them minute by minute. The Italian dawn comes early in May, but already, as ever, Lady Luck has shown her hand, and Sterling Moss is out of the race with a broken brake pedal, while a combination of treacherous tram lines and a shop window has ended this effort for Sheila Van Dam. There in full song goes Peter Collins' Ferrari, and losing a little ground to his teammate, Turufi comes flashing past. Immediately, the roads are reopened to normal traffic. The Rome control on the Mille Miglia is a place almost as frenzied as Brescia itself. With more than half the distance behind them, drivers here embark on the homeward run. But by this time, both men and machines are liable to show some signs of wear. An overshoot of the pits could mean tired brakes, tired driver, or simply unfamiliarity with the setup. But it also means seconds lost, and seconds do matter on the Mille Miglia. In the program against number 257 stood the mystic letters FK, for initials only, and sometimes nicknames, are used to conceal the identity of drivers in this hazardous event. The Rapier's time to Rome was 7 hours 7 minutes, an average, including all refueling stops, of 76.16 miles an hour. Peter Collins and his navigator Louis Clementeschi, number 534, had now built up a lead of over 5 minutes on their nearest rival. And as this was their Ferrari teammate Piero Taruffi, number 535, it seemed that, barring accidents, this was to be the Englishman's race. De Portago and Nelson, number 531, were fourth behind Von Trips, and Jourdain with the Gran Turismo car made it Ferrari for the first 5 places. Now came the approach to the Radicofani Pass, some 90 miles north of Rome on the road to Siena. Not high by Alpine standards, the Radicofani nevertheless climbs to 2,600 feet and provides an interesting section of the course. Now it was saloons and sports cars very much mixed up. As Peter Collins overtakes that 1100 Oscar, one of the quick ones, he has gained 2 hours and 5 minutes on the smaller car. Turufi, driving solo on the roads he knows so well, is still losing ground. Von Trips retains his third position. Drivers who reach the Florence control on the Mille Miglia might well appreciate the welcome which awaits them. It's a hard ride in any car, and the competition in all the classes is just as fierce as the struggle for the absolute lead. Meantime, the Italian idea of closed roads continues to operate with a terrifying nicety of timing. Harper and Reese press on. On the fast sections, the car was held for long periods around the 105-mile-an-hour mark. Number 417 was Jourdain. Bob Carnegie leads the privately entered Fitzwilliam MGs, but tragedy overtook this Dutch-driven triumph. Peter Collins' arrival, now leading by almost 10 minutes at Florence, gets spectators and officials hopping with delight. But like all the masters, Collins has time to be concerned about crowd behavior. That barrier is barbed wire. Turuffi now has eased off, and Von Trips, who started 3 minutes behind the veteran, is closing on him fast. This is the last big double-barreled hazard of the course, the Futa Pass and its neighbor, the Raticosa. Still battling furiously amongst themselves, the 750s lead the way. At just on 3,000 feet, the summit of the Raticosa draws spectators from hundreds of miles around. And from the vehicles they have on hand, the Italian authorities appear to be leaving nothing to chance. Rigamonti's Oscar on its way to beat the other 27 750 sports cars. Jonavere, running ahead of the big sports cars, is not sure where he lies in relation to Scarlatti, the sole survivor of the Maserati work. And this is the 2-liter Testarossa Ferrari which won its class. But Peter Collins is now in trouble. He knows that his Ferrari transmission is breaking up, and he's just hoping to make the finish. Turuffi, unaware of Collins' anxiety, is on the lookout now and intends merely to keep Von Trips, number 532, in sight to the finish and thereby beat his teammate by 3 minutes. The spectators toast a certain Ferrari victory, for Portago lies fourth, unchallenged, and is going fast but easily. Ravenna, Ancona, Pescara, Rome and Florence. One by one, the cities have flared with excitement as the race has passed. But now Brescia is once again the focal point, and in the square, which has never really quietened since the start, the crowds regather for the final act. However, for the spectator who prefers the scene of action, the countryside, and preferably the mountains, are the place. The section from Bologna northwest to Piacenza and Cremona was to be packed with dramatic incident. The crowd was on the lookout for Jean de Vienne, for still going superbly fast ahead of de Portago, he had moved up to 4th place past the Spaniard, while Gregor Grant was soon to split his fuel tank. In Brescia, the first car was expected any minute. Taruffi was now in the lead and knew it, for the transmission on Collins' car finally broke at Palma, and the British pair were robbed of certain victory. Close now on Taruffi's heels was Von Trips. At the finish, the early starters now came streaming in. But out in the country, the battle still was waged. De Portago now had fewer miles to go than he or anyone knew. A burst tire at 170 miles an hour was to end the life of this all-round sportsman and indeed threaten the future of the race itself. Taruffi and Von Trips finished together, first and second for Ferrari, and just 3 minutes apart in racing time. Jean de Bien was third, Scarlatti of Maserati fourth, and Malioli fifth. The Rapier, averaging 70.5 from Rome, was second in its class, completing the 1,000 miles in 14 hours. A great effort by Harper and Rees, a tribute to the car, now further improved from lessons learned in the extreme test of Europe's most ferocious race. In the Mille Miglia, men and cars earn fame through courage and tenacity. The credit is not confined to the outright winners, great though their claim may be, but is shared by everyone who completes this fantastic course within the qualifying time.
The last historical edition was run in 1957. Piero Taruffi won it on his Ferrari 315 Sport. His average speed is an impressive 152 kilometers per hour. But the record remains that of Sterling Moss, who in 1955 won with an average speed of 157 kilometers per hour.
Ultime battute, Piacenza. La Ferrari 4100 di Gigi lavora a piena resa, cessata la pioggia. A Parma si torna all'alta velocità. Un brivido, ma la 1100 di Borghi si è subito rimessa in linea.